Hey everybody, I'm here today with a driving lesson about steering control while driving a car. What I will be doing is I will be heading onto the highway, showing you some steering control for switching lanes and staying centered on the highway, and then I'll show you some examples of making some turns. Now let's get right to it. I've actually switched it up. I'll do the turns first, then I'll do the highway later. Let's get right to it. We're going to start driving over here. Now you'll notice that my hands are positioned equally on the steering wheel. Now I'm going to put my right turn signal on. I'm going to make this turn right here. As you can see, I'm turning the steering wheel about 65% in order to make the turn. Now also, it should be noted that as you're making the turn, with regards to steering control, you should be holding the steering wheel in the same position for the most part throughout the turn. Now you can make micro adjustments, but for the most part, your steering wheel should be in the same position. What I'll do is I'll make a left-hand turn here. As you can see, I have my signal on. I've checked my mirrors and my blind spot. You can see I'm turning it about 70% of a full turn. And what I do is I release the steering wheel once I've turned, then the car begins to straighten out and drive straight again. I'm going to do a little bit of a turn here. So what I'll do is I'll put my signal on. I'm going to turn into this curve. Okay. Now I'm going to reverse. So I've straightened my wheel out. I'm going to put the car in reverse. I'm checking around as I'm going backwards. And you'll notice that I'm turning the steering wheel to the right. And that means that the back of my car is headed towards the right. Now I'm going to put the car in drive again. I'm going to turn the steering wheel quite a bit, hold it here, and then release. And as you can see, it starts to straighten out by itself. So it's very simple. Steering control is actually very simple. You want your hands to be equally spaced apart from each other on the steering wheel. So I have the center here. I'm going right here, which is about 10 and 2. And throughout turns, you want to make sure to turn the steering wheel, estimate the turn appropriately, and then just release it when you're done turning. Now keep your hands on the steering wheel, but you can release it and let the car straighten out itself. Now if you're taking a turn at a slow speed, you might have to assist the steering wheel in straightening out once again, but for the most part it's pretty simple. Now we're going to head onto the highway and I'll show you some steering control on the highway. Let's turn the heat on because it's actually really cold. It's about -7 degrees outside right now. So I'm turning right, I made the turn, I release. Now once again, regularly you'd keep your hands around the steering wheel. I just released completely to show you what it looks like as the steering wheel is turning back by itself. So here I have a curve in the road. I'm going to turn the steering wheel slightly. Now you'll notice that if you're not making a full turn, you really only need to turn the steering wheel a bit. Check this out as I switch lanes. I'm going to put my signal on. Watch how little I have to maneuver the steering wheel to switch lanes. Check that out. Just like that. I want to switch lanes once again. Put my signal on. I just make a minor turn in the steering wheel and then I straighten out. Just like that. It's so simple. You don't need to make aggressive lane changes. You just really need to turn the steering wheel slightly. And I apologize if the camera is shaky, but I'm doing my best to keep my speed at a speed where the camera is not going to be vibrating a ton. I'm going to switch lanes once again. Signal on. Just a micro adjustment in the steering wheel and then I straighten out once I've switched lanes. And it's literally that simple. That is basically steering control in a nutshell. If you're making a turn, you're going to have to turn the steering wheel quite a bit. If you're switching lanes, you only need to make minor adjustments. Now also, with regards to steering control, with regards to keeping centered as you're driving down the street or on the highway like I am right now, I'm looking far ahead. I'm not looking at the car in front of me. I'm looking past the car in front of me, and that allows me to stay centered because I'm keeping a center point of vision. If I look at the car in front of me and I'm using that as a gauge, I'm going to swerve left and right as they are moving. So I want to look far ahead. The further ahead that you look, the better that you'll be with regards to keeping your car centered in the lane. Also, I'm still paying attention to the car in front of me. I'm just not staring at the car in front of me. The car in front of me is in my eyesight, but in order to stay centered, I'm looking far ahead. My hands are equidistant on the steering wheel from the center. And basically, I'm just making micro adjustments. I'm not holding the steering wheel completely stiff. I'm making micro adjustments to stay centered. There's a little bit of a curve in the road over here, so I'm following the curve. But you'll notice that I'm constantly making tiny little micro adjustments, just millimeters left and right with the steering wheel. And that's just to make sure that I'm remaining centered. Now, as I approach this curve right here, I'm gonna just hold it slightly to the left. Look at how little to the left I'm holding it to go through that curve. So often I see people oversteer, and that's because they turn the steering wheel too aggressively or understeer. And when they understeer, they're not turning the steering wheel aggressively enough. You have to find the perfect balance between oversteering and understeering, and the best way to do that is just with practice. The more that you practice, the better off that you'll be at steering wheel control. And that's basically it. I really hope that you've enjoyed this driving tutorial. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this. I apologize if this video turns out to be a little bit shaky, but I did my best with my camera mounts to get it as secure as possible, but I do apologize if it ends up being a little bit shaky. Once again, I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, and that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.